Are you confident in your offers but wishing more people actually saw them? If you're ready to get your voice in front of dream clients without chasing every algorithm, the Visibility Kickstart Fall Flash Mini is for you. In just a couple of days, you'll walk away with custom podcast speaking topics, a simple system to track your pitches, and direct voice messaging support from me, so you can start landing guest spots and planting visibility seeds before the year ends. No long program, no fluff, just action, clarity, and major visibility. You'll be ready to pitch this week. Spots are limited, and this is only good for October. Head to the link in the show notes, and let's get your message into more ears starting now. Today, we're back with a special guest, Heather Harrington. Heather is a podcast host of Hot Mess Espresso, and I just saw that you celebrated your 100th episode. That is a mark that not many podcasters ever see, so congrats. Hot Mess Espresso is a podcast dedicated to mental health and the stories that surround it. She's also an Aussie mom, metalhead, Halloween enthusiast, and a huge mental health advocate. So I'm so excited to have you here. I was on your show a while back, so this is going to be great.
No, I'm so excited.
So I know you have a lot of irons in the fire with your podcast, your merch, you're launching a second podcast. Everyone's entrepreneurial story is always so different. And I wonder, what does yours look like?
Mine is, I heard somebody say this one time, and I've kind of been going with it. It's high level winging it. Nice. When I started the podcast, I did not expect it to launch the way that I did. I did not expect to get to 100 episodes. I did not expect to have the people that I have had on. I didn't expect any of that. So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, what's the next step? I know a lot of people have like these business plans, vision boards, and all of these things. They are so sure of what they want to do. And I'm over here like, okay, we'll go with that. So the merch and the second podcast were kind of a random fly-by-night decision. I had started merch with one vendor who's absolutely wonderful, but just couldn't fulfill the volume that I knew I was going to need with HME. From there, it went to this other vendor, and now we've been doing a pre-order, and I'm actually wearing one of the hoodies for it, actually.
Love it.
It's my favorite piece from the collection. But yeah, it was a lot of just high-level winging it, and then a lot of, honestly, rocking back and forth in the corner, because I was just like, what did I do? I girl bossed too close to the sun. So it looks a lot different and a lot more chaotic, I guess, than most people's. But thankfully, I'm a Capricorn, so I have like the drive to kind of take all of that and just go, okay, well, we can push this in some form of a direction, which is a really long-winded answer to be like, I just kind of flew by the seat of my pants and we're here now.
Yeah. Are you very like intuitive and acting on like pivoting when things don't feel aligned or?
Yeah. No, my big thing is going with the vibes, as the kids are saying these days. If I feel like something isn't aligning with where I want to be, or it's just not 100% me, I've pivoted so many times with Hot Mess Espresso. It started with just solo episodes, and then I started getting guests, and then I was literally anybody that was willing to come on. I was like, yes, please. I need the content. And now I'm getting more picky, which it's hard as a mental health advocate because you're like, everyone's story deserves to be told, but maybe not here. And it's really difficult to kind of navigate around that guilt and having to say no. The people pleaser in me is dying inside, but the boundaries queen is like, yes, we're doing things. I've done a lot of pivoting. Basically, where I'm failing and like I'm not strong, I'm very, very lucky to have people like my sister who's very business minded, who owns her own business, who is the logical brain to my emotional brain, and somehow it works out. So there are times where I sit down and I'm like, I want to pivot, but I don't know where. And she helps me to break it down, or she helps me figure out where I'm saying no or where I'm cutting the fat off to per se. I've gotten very, very lucky where I have business-minded people in my corner. And I think that's also very vital to why we just hit 100 episodes.
It's like community that gets it, that so many people lack. And then honoring the pivot, like honoring that that it's off. And I'm a big believer in that too. I mean, I think you learn the hard way eventually when you don't honor that knowing. And then you're like, oh, well, I knew already. I should have just done it and saved myself the headache, the heartache, all the things. So I love that permission giving, but for other people that haven't maybe learned it yet, to be like, no, you already know. Let's change it. Let's change it. Be the CEO that you are. So I know that most of what you do relies around mental health with the theme of that. And that's obviously a very important topic. We're recording it in Mental Health Month right now, right?
I know.
So awesome. But when it comes to business and podcasting, what role do you think it plays?
It plays in everything. I mean, you're dealing with burnout. You're dealing with not feeling good enough, especially if you're not techie like me, looking at all these like amazing graphics that these people are doing. And you're like, I wish I could do that, but I can't because I suck at graphics, and trying not to get down on yourself that like your pod, or your startup business or whatever isn't where these other like big names are, but these big names have an unlimited budget to just throw at things. And you're the one in the trenches doing all the work yourself, which also contributes to burnout and not posting and everything else. And I've been so guilty of that. I have not posted nearly as much as I need to. And it's just a constant loop of I need to be posting, but like there's so much else going on in my personal life. And my personal life is a dumpster fire. So that's bleeding into this. It's constant. So you're constantly dealing with a lot of struggling with not feeling good enough, struggling with not feeling like you're doing enough, struggling with just a lot of nots and what you should be doing. Amy Lenius from Next Level University once said you should all over yourself. And I love that phrase. And it's something that I'm still learning how to apply that. But every time I'm like, I should. And I'm like, don't shit all over yourself.
Exactly.
You're doing what your brain has the capacity for. It may not be like 100% where you want it, but you're doing it. And that's more than what a lot of people are doing. So focus on that. Especially when it comes to hitting those landmarks. I just dealt with it. I rolled into 100 episodes and I I wanted to be like ecstatic and let's celebrate and everything else. And I'm so focused on like, okay, what's the next 100 going to look like? The first 100 was really, really rough and a lot of pivoting and a lot of that. Taking time to sit in the moment would also help mental health a little bit, but also remembering that you're doing a lot more than other people are doing.
In entrepreneurship, you always got to be like 5 steps ahead, thinking about the next thing. So I find that too, where it's different from a lot of things, definitely different than a 9 to 5, where you might not have to keep having that vision. So then it creates this, I do the same thing, got to 100 episodes and then don't stop to celebrate because you're like, oh, I hit that mark. Okay, where's the next one? The goalpost is constantly moving and you will never hit it unless you keep that mental perspective in check. So with that, what are some things that you do or that you would suggest or recommend to, especially for entrepreneurs, to keep that in check? Maybe some actionable things or things to stop doing to help that mind game, because it's everything. Entrepreneurship is like therapy on steroids, like every single day, having to like see yourself, know yourself, be with yourself.
It's like not getting sleep because you're coming up with an idea that you can't just lay back down and go back to bed at 2 a.m. All of a sudden you're back in the office. Oh, I gotta like write this down. Honestly, what I have done to work through that is, and this is going to sound very controversial considering I am a podcast host, I don't listen to other podcasts. There are a few that I listen to. I will obviously like listen to and promote any episodes that I'm on. Like if any of my peers in podcasting are doing something big, I'm sharing that because obviously there's enough room at the table for everyone. I fully believe in that. But for my own sanity, I'm not forcing myself to listen to like 75 podcasts a week because when you're in this industry, all of a sudden you've got all these friends. Everyone gets a follow. Everyone gets a like on their posts. Everyone gets like either a repost. I will support in that way. But for me, I can't constantly be listening to podcasts because I will constantly be comparing myself. Oh, they sound so much more eloquent than me. Oh, they're asking better questions than me. And while it's a good thing to listen to a podcast here and there just to check in, sometimes, especially if you are a people pleaser and an overachiever, but also an overthinker like me, you have to just go with what your gut is telling you versus what everyone else is doing in podcasting. Because if you're doing what everyone else is doing in podcasting, you're not standing out. So that's kind of been my like claim on things is I leave certain things in. If my cats are batting at the sign behind me, I leave it in because it's a fun little like relatable thing. I just did an episode with Sean Koss, who's an incredible artist and a huge inspiration of mine and like was my number one dream guest the podcast could end tomorrow, and I've accomplished literally everything I've wanted to. And just to see him be goofy and relatable, and I think we're missing a lot of that in podcasting, to be completely honest. Here's my hot take. That's been my number one thing. I just don't listen to other podcasts, because if I listen to like Call Her Daddy and I listen to these bigger podcasts that have the team, have probably the people writing half the questions, I'm not going to feel good enough and I'm going to want to quit. Again, kind of like a temp check on like different things, listen to an episode here or there just to kind of like see what I'm missing, especially solo episodes. I'll watch solo episodes because I know that's where I'm severely lacking. But I'm comfortable with myself enough as a host now. And it's not like, I know everything, I don't have to listen to another. But it's more of I'm comfortable with who I am and I have the listener base. And of course, I want it to be a bigger listener base, but I'm going to get there. So that's my biggest thing.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business while feeling supported and seen every step of the way? Join the Aligned Business Collective, the monthly membership I co-host with Andrea Hansen and Brittany Williams, designed for entrepreneurs like you. This is your space to connect, learn, and build a business that truly works for you, while we hold you accountable with our weekly calls and on-demand coaching. Head to the link in the show notes to learn more and join today. I get that, especially identifying yourself if you are in that category. You like to compare, you're a high achiever, that kind of thing. It just becomes constant where you just think you're like gathering information, and then it turns into you can't create your own because you think it has to be this one way when, like you said, we're trying to do things differently. We're not trying to be the cookie cutter. We're not trying to copy someone else. And we're all different humans, like, nor should we or could we copy someone directly. So that might be a reason why it feels hard to create or to record a podcast episode, because you're trying to, like you said earlier, do it how you think you should because you watched all this stuff, and now you can't do it and you can't find your own voice because you just have the voice of everybody else's that you were listening to in your head.
Yeah. I'll take inspiration 1,000%. A lot of my interviewing and having the balls to ask the deeper questions came from watching a couple episodes of Dumb Blonde podcast with Bunny. I really think that she is phenomenal at diving in and being like, hey, we're going to peel all the layers of the onion back and then add them as we go kind of deal. She asks those deep questions. Her guests go into their stories. And I find that incredibly important as a podcast host, because you see a lot of podcast hosts just at surface level, and you can tell when I'm burnt out because I start asking surface level questions and I'm not like, let's dive into what you said. I take a lot of inspiration from that. I take a lot of solo inspiration from Liz Alfred of the She's So Lucky podcast. Her solo episodes, I love them. I think that she really dives in and is vulnerable. That inspires me. So I take inspiration, but again, it's a temp check.
Yeah, you have to check into this. You have to know yourself a little bit and know, am I doing this because I am in this inspired mindset? I'm in a confident place. I'm ready to be inspired and just curious and doing some research. Or am I in a place where I'm checking to see where the bar is, check to see. Yeah. That's a whole different thing. That's a good distinction there. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here. What would you say is the biggest oops when you started your podcast or business in general that you would tell someone else to steer clear of now?
Ooh, that's a good one. My biggest oops was literally not having a direction. I'm not saying you got to have it all figured out, because again, I've pivoted countless times in the 2 years I've had this podcast, but not having like a mission statement. And when I say a mission statement, and again, these are things that I've learned through other really successful podcasters. Kevin and Alan from Next Level University, I will quote these guys till the day I die. Like, the whole team is phenomenal, and I've learned so much from them. But they're always like, hey, 10-word statement of what you are. So when people are asking, what is Hot Mess Espresso? I'm not like, well, it's like a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. It's pivoted over the years. Like, I could go through the bio of, it started off humanizing borderline personality disorder, and now it talks about different mental health facets and everything else and blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that I wish I had done was just sit down and go, what do I want out of this? Who is my target audience? And it is okay if it is literally millennials, because, people are going to listen to who they want to listen to. And if your target audience is millennials because you are a millennial, that's okay. If you're trying to cater to everyone, you're going to cater to nobody. And that's the biggest thing. Also, the big second big thing, you do not need to spend $10K on a studio to start off. You want to know where I started? The basement of this house. I was in a corner praying my husband at the time was going to be quiet while gaming. Well, I was recording in a corner on like basically like something slightly bigger than a TV tray for a desk. And this is my OG mic, but like that was the one like big thing is audio quality. You can be wherever. Make sure your audio quality is good. Your video can be like grainy, whatever, but if you sound like you're in an echo chamber, people are not going to listen.
Moving on.
It's kind of like several points of like, please, like I wish I had like learned a few things, but I thankfully at least had the audio quality from jump. But yeah, the big thing is figure out who your target audience is, figure out your 10-word description. Hot Mess Espressos is we're telling stories. We're stories and perspectives from professionals and the day-to-day people alike. Because I have people that have millions of followers on here. I've got people that have 14. But something about them is why I needed to have them on. I needed to tell their story. So that would be my biggest thing. Have at least a direction.
Yeah.
And stick to that. It's okay to pivot, but at least try to stick to your main big thing.
Right. And it can be broad to start with because then you narrow it down. I remember thinking in the beginning too, like, I don't know. I think it's just for moms. I think it's just for mindset. I also pivoted as well over the last 4 years. It's okay if it's not perfect or if it feels like it's not as niche as yours or mine is currently, but you got to start somewhere. And if you don't give any thought to it, that's where you're going to get into a little bit of trouble. And then you won't have any guidance. Then you can't make decisions or very good ones because you don't know what guests to say yes or no to. You don't know what you want your solo episodes to be like. So it gets a little messy. Is there anything that's coming to mind that you're like, we got to talk about this that we haven't?
Gatekeeping. I'm so annoyed with other podcasters that are like,
same.
You know, especially podcasters that are coaches. And I know you're a coach and stuff like that, but you don't gatekeep, which is why like I was more than happy to come on here. You know your worth and you know that there's a certain point where you're going to be like, okay, well, you have to pay to work with me, which is totally fine. But all of these podcasters that are like, I've been doing this for like a year and a half and now I'm going to coach people because I know everything. I've been doing this for 2 years. I don't know shit. But also that are like, oh my goodness, like, I'm not going to respond to you until you do a coaching call. Like that just turns people off.
Or the ones that are like, I'm coaching you in this in podcast, but I don't even have one. I've never
That's my favorite.
Have you seen that? I'm like, what now? How do you even know what I'm going through if you haven't? But oh yeah, gatekeeping is a big value of mine because I can't tell you how many times I've signed up for this free thing and they promised they were going to share. And I know it's free and I'm not saying you have to give the whole farm away, but I just believe I can tell you all that I do. I can tell you my whole process, but you're not me, and together is the magic. And it's okay if you don't want to pay for that right now. I've done a lot of DIY myself. Sometimes we're in that season. We don't have the funds. We don't have whatever. And we have to. And so I see that time and place, but I also know that there's people that want to pay to work with you. And it's because of that energy when you come together that's going to create the magic, that's going to create the explosion. I mean, I just don't think anybody's copyable, I guess.
They're not.
So I'm not worried about gatekeeping. You can DM me right now. I'll tell you the whole process of guessing on podcast. Like, I'm not going to keep it. I did want to ask right now in your podcast, how do you decide and navigate what your episodes are going to be about or what guests you bring on?
So I'm still niching that down because I do want to have more bands and stuff like that on. I definitely got lost a little bit the last like 6 months. I just went through a really crappy depressive episode from like January until like June. So I was basically just throwing content out to throw it out again. Again, I observe, I sit back, I'm watching certain podcasters that have guest forms. And, you know, we're on Threads all the time. And I've had multiple conversations about how people act on Threads, where I've had multiple conversations with other podcasters. I am learning that I do not have to go hunt down every single one of my guests. If I put out a casting call on Threads or Instagram and people are like, I'm interested, shoot me a message. No, I have enough going on. Like I'm not, but people that take the extra mile to sit there and go, hey, I shot you a comment on Threads, like I'm just messaging you because I would love to chat. I will tell you my entire life story. I will go out of my way for that. If you take that little extra iota. So with finding guests, Threads is apparently a treasure trove.
Oh, it's too easy on Threads
people.
Right now.
I love it. It's amazing. Too easy because I go lost too close to the sun again via Threads.
Well, I will book myself. Yes.
I completely booked you do not want to see what my already banked episode schedule looks like. We're in January. And this is.
Oh my God.
the middle of September
That
when
was
we're
me.
recording this.
Me in spring. Your episode is my first guest episode that I've been recording for like 5 months because I had booked out so far, and then I just hard stopped when I was home with the kids all summer. We're not recording.
Yeah, I basically
with them in the house.
I think I'm recording like 6 episodes between now and the end of the year. And that gives me time to work on my admin, that's the other thing. Take breaks. Do not do what I did and literally podcast pretty much every week for 2 years straight.
You'll want to burn it all down or not quite close? Yeah.
I literally, the amount of times I have threatened to unplug the mic for good is not even funny. I took basically the entire month of September off, and
good for
all
you.
of a sudden I have this energy to post on Instagram. I have all this energy to get things scheduled. I have all this energy to export and edit. I have energy because people don't realize how much it takes to record an episode.
Right. Yes.
Like, people just think you yap on the mic and it's so much fun and blah, blah, blah. Look, I got the worst RBF literally ever. My DAO muscles, the ones that like keep your lips up here, like they are pulling into my chin. So I constantly look like I am on America's Most Wanted. I have to fix my face all the time. You're constantly actively listening while checking your notes to figure out how you can pivot into the next question. They'll say something and you're like, well, I know I'm going to forget that by the time they're done talking. So let me just like write it over here and hope that it's legible when I like look over because I have to stare at the camera.
I appreciate too that you just shared openly that you went through this season, this no energy dark season. Speak to that a little bit. I already know when we're going through something, someone else is too. Yeah. It's not that unique. Like, you're not alone. Take comfort in that, if you will, hopefully. But
some
for
dark,
someone
cold
who's
comfort.
Yes, exactly. But for someone like maybe coming out of a season like that, or they're in one, how you don't, because your mind will spin and be like, okay, you're losing momentum, or you have to do that. You should do this. You should do, and then it just becomes like this uphill battle and everything feels hard. What do you do? Sometimes for me, it's just about taking the rest. You took September off, finally giving in and saying, nothing's going to be gone. Like, it's okay to take that break, but what do you do?
I'm going to take it a step back to January when I hit it because it's important, because I need people to understand how bad it was, only because that will show that it wasn't just like, it was just like really sad for a couple of days. It got to the point where my ex-husband, who notices nothing, and I mean nothing, looked at me like it was 6 days after my birthday. And he looked at me and he was like, do I have to lock up the guns in the house? And I was like, no, but the razor blades that I use for permanent makeup to like, you know, get the, because I had a whole permanent makeup kit back from when I was doing it. I was like, you might want to lock those up. That's how bad it was.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not saying that for like oh, poor me. I'm saying that because mental health is a real thing. And even somebody who advocates for it and knows all the steps, all the breath work, all that. I've been in therapy for 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. I've undone a lot of shit. You still have those moments. And it was like really, really bad. And a lot of it does have to do with my PMDD. Those depressive episodes once a month are super fun. But it was that bad. It took a lot for me to get out of it, but I knew I had this commitment. And as depressed as I was, I carry a lot of like shame and societal pressure. So I was like, I can't not have an episode out. And thankfully, these were all recorded beforehand. So they were great content. I got them out. But I started literally being like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Let's just quit one more thing that, you know, you're going to quit and just be done. Nobody expects anything better out of you. I think it was just my pure spite that was like, no, fuck, we're going to do this. It's really, really hard, but sometimes you just have to do the bare minimum and you have to be okay with it. Did I post for like a month and a half? No. Are there multiple clips sitting in my phone that I exported that I need to be posting? Yeah. Is your episode one of them? Yeah. But it was to a point where I was like, is the episode published? Yep. And is it out? Okay, we're just going to share it from Spotify and call it a fucking day. Yeah. Because that was all I could do. And sometimes if that is your 100%, it's okay. You just have to do your version of 100% until you're at your version of 100%, if that makes any sense. And my version of 100% is 2 clips a week and sharing it on my stories at least like 3 to 5 times. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, I can like hop on the Instagram stories and be like, hey guys, like this is what I'm doing today. The mental health has not been great. I'm burnt the hell out, but you know, it's fine. And it's not, because social media is a very weird thing. They want you to be open, but they don't want you to be open. Because when you're like, hey, I'm burnt out. Well, she just wants attention. She just, you know, wants somebody to be like, no, you're doing great, sweetie. No, I don't. I just want somebody to look at that and go, oh, girl, same. Finally, it's not just me. It's not just me. That's all I care about. I don't care about the whole, you got this. I don't need that. That's what I have my circle for. I don't need validation from people on the internet. It's nice sometimes, but not when it's important. You know what I mean? I literally was more than happy to hop back up on the mic. I was like, I miss this shit so much. That's how you know you're meant to do it, when you take that break and you're like, I can't wait to get back. So it's just taking the breaks and allowing yourself to take the breaks. And honestly, I'm going to say this. If I had the funds, I would not have the studio in my house because I think that would also help my mental health to have that literal break. Yeah. Like having an office, do a couple things here and there. But when it's right across from your bedroom and you pass it and you're like, I could just go in there. And 3 hours later,
it's constantly on your mind.
It's things like that where you wanted to take it to the next level. So if you have the funds and you have the means, I don't care if it's renting out a room at a work co-op. Do it because you have that boundary, especially if you really struggle with your mental health, because then you're there, you're doing your office hours, you're doing your recordings. It's almost like a getting ready for work thing. I don't think I could ever work from home because I'd be like, oh, there's this at the house.
You couldn't turn it off.
Yeah, I can't turn it off like at all.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly like doing, my office is a complete disaster. So when I move and I get to the next place, there's going to be nothing in here but podcast equipment or just like in a corner. So that's the next goal, is to just get an actual studio. So I have the boundary of being like, I'm going to the studio and then I come home and those things are separate, because then I have my space and I have work space, and then you're good. Yeah. I think that would really, really help a lot with my mental health. But yeah, that's my big thing. If you have the means, do it.
Another great point you had in there too, like your 100% one day could be a lot different than your 100% a different day. And that is all okay. The bare minimum is all okay. And completely taking a break is all okay. You, on a completely different scale, because I thankfully haven't been in that deep of a place, but you learn when you do take the breaks, or sometimes when you're forced to take the breaks. No one's really watching you that close anyway. We're all worried about our own selves. So half the time, it's not like someone has ever asked me, where have you been for those 2 weeks? You didn't have an episode come up. Just move on. Right. It's nothing. We're not doctors. We're not performing surgery. It's not that huge, right? You can take the break and you can pick up where you left off, and having a little grace along the way is huge. Tell me about, as we wrap up here, your second podcast that's coming out.
Yes, Friends Without Benefits. Two of my friends, the third co-host has become a friend through all of this. We actually met through my mutual friend, Alex Wilkins. And she had a friend, Ileanis, and the three of us just meshed together really well. We're like, hey, let's just take the group chat on the mic. So it's kind of, again, that 10-word statement. Friends Without Benefits is literally a podcast where we are taking the group chat and putting it to the mic. So if anybody knows anything about a women's group chat, that tells you everything you need to know. That we're going to be talking relationships, friendships, girlhood, women's health, all of these things that we all talk about in the group chat. Because Alex and I have been talking, we both have podcasts, and hers for better or hustle is absolutely phenomenal, and then mine is more mental health related. And we were talking about the possibility of a second podcast. We have all these things that, like, we want to talk about and get like a little unhinged and have a little fun. But I'm not going to talk about my dating life on a mental health podcast, because it just doesn't have a place, and that's okay. Again, it's one of those things where it's a good fit, just not for Hot Mess Espresso. So we talked about it. I literally Googled group chats with 3 people, and we narrowed it down from there. And then actually my TikTok followers helped me come up with the whole without, because it's in parentheses. The out is in parentheses. It's a cute little play on words. It's going to be a good time. It should be dropping hopefully by Halloween, definitely by Thanksgiving. So I'm very excited to be working with these women, and I'm very excited for people to be able to see a different side of me that is a little less serious and a little more unhinged. And it also gives our listeners kind of the freedom to be like, do we want to know that side of you, or do we just want to stick with a little bit more professionalism? So it gives people the option. We've been working really, really hard on all sorts of different topics and battling our own schedules and burnout. I'm very, very excited about it.
It's like taking those conversations that we all have, but they're behind closed doors, and letting people Hear about them out in the real world. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and real and authentic. I love that about you. Where can people come and connect with you and hang out?
If you appreciate the more unhinged side of me or want to learn the more unhinged side of me, I do have a TikTok. It's hotmess.espresso, ESPRESSO. The same handle for my Instagram, which is the pod Instagram. You can also follow my personal at Chaos of Heather Nicole. And then you can find Hot Mess Espresso literally anywhere you get your podcast. Episodes drop every Wednesday.
Amazing. I will link everything in the show notes. And thanks for being on. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for today. If this episode gave you a little aha or you're thinking about guesting on podcasts now, I'd love to hear about it. Screenshot the episode, tag me on Instagram at Candace Dudley, and let me know your biggest takeaways. And don't forget to come back next Tuesday for another episode.